Welcome, Adeola. Thank you very much indeed for joining me and joining people who will be watching this Inspirational Leaders series. Thank you very much indeed for coming along.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. So, I've known you for a number of years, and you're a young millennial, and what's I think would be of interest to people is to understand some of your very early successes. Most people don't have your successes until they're probably in their 30s, 40s, and you had some of these successes, I think, in your mid-20s or something. I mean, how old are you now?
I'm 30 now, just turned 30.
And so what I'd like to explore is what those were, what was important to you that motivated and drove you to achieve what you have achieved and what you're still wanting to achieve and working towards. So, but first of all, what I'd like to know is, what did you want to be when you were growing up? What were your passions?
From a very young age, I've always had a passion to help people, to help vulnerable people, especially people I felt that deserved a helping hand. And I would say that stemmed from looking after my mother. She was always sick my entire life. So I've always felt a sense of responsibility to help her. She worked incredibly hard to put food on the table for myself and my younger sister after my dad passed away. So it just felt right that I give her a comfortable life and help her and do whatever I can, whether it's by working extra hours, I can give her some more money, or, cooking, whatever, just help her.
Okay. So what was what steps did you take? I mean, when you thought about what you wanted to do in terms of your education and your passion and your life for helping her, what were the next steps that you took in terms of your career, or in terms of education, your career? What was your passion then?
I believe as a young African child living and growing up in London, education is key. So although I am dyslexic, I strove to work incredibly hard in my academia. So whenever I felt that, okay, people are going to judge you or give you easier work to do because they think it's too difficult for you, I will do my very best to disguise my disorder. So I'd work extra hard. So a lot of the time, even till college, people didn't know I had dyslexia because I'd get A's, I'll do really well. So I went on to college, I went on to university. I got into really good universities, actually, quite proud of that. UCL, King's, and the top universities in London.
What did you study?
I studied initially social sciences and anthropology, then I switched into politics because, as I said, I have a passion to help vulnerable people, particularly those who I believe are marginalised in society. Mm-hmm. And so I thought that come 2008, when I graduate, I'll probably do a master's in human rights. But the crash happened. So I had to look for a job that will give me enough money so I could pay for my degree. And I found an opportunity in Standard Chartered, which is where I met yourself, and I haven't looked back since. It gave me the opportunity to not only finance whatever desires I have outside of work, but support my mum and expose me to a different world. It was the one organisation I worked in, and I realised that you can still make a difference in the world and in your community you're serving. You don't necessarily have to be a volunteer or work in the human rights sector. So while I was there, I'll do what I could to volunteer, either at secondary school, at college, and at university, give back to the community, especially young women, because I felt that, as you help me, it's my responsibility to help someone else.
So tell me, I mean, one of the things obviously I noticed, and I noticed working with you, that you had lots of outside interests beyond obviously your mother, your family, your community, and there was something that you set up.
Yes.
Which was just like, wow. Can you tell us a bit about, how old were you then? And what was it? Just tell us a bit about the story.
So you have a great memory. I was, I believe, 21 when I created CocoaBella, and that was a brand, like a beauty empowerment brand for women of colour. Because growing up, I didn't feel there was a lot of representation of people that looked like myself in mainstream media. So I wanted to do something about that, to just uplift our spirits, to make us feel just as beautiful beautiful. So I came up with the brand CocoaBella, which celebrates the beauty of all women. Now, as you know, I'm quite creative. I think that's something a lot of people who suffer with dyslexia have. We have this kind of creative flair. So when I created the brand and I had the IP registered, I started branding it on clothing, and people really liked that. So then it kind of morphed into a fashion line, and that wasn't its purpose, but it was a great opportunity to market the brand and make more money. So I did.
Okay, now there's two things I'm interested in. Your brand got a huge amount of publicity,
Yeah.
but before we talk about that, you had the most exceptional, you just started it and you had this amazing fashion show. Could you just explain a little bit about the fashion show itself, because it was very unusual, and where it was as well? Would you like to just share some of that?
As I said before, I have a desire to help others, and I like to give people a platform and opportunity to showcase their talent. So CocoaBella was an opportunity for not only me to showcase the brand, but I thought, let's make it interesting, let's make it creative. So I did it like a showcase of various acts. So whether it was music, drumming, anything that had like an African influence. And it was in October, so it was during Black History Month, a great time to kind of introduce people that aren't familiar with African culture or West African culture, with fabric, clothing and music and food. So yeah, it was phenomenal. And a lot of breakthrough artists who are now quite famous started with my show, like Fuse ODG. A lot of people know him as one of the best UK Afrobeats talents. So I'm very glad that he got an opportunity to showcase his talent at the CocoaBella runway show. And Giggs, who is like an urban rapper, very humble. And I'm really proud of everyone's success, because there was a time where everyone was just like catapulted like straight into, I would say, mainstream, got a lot of attention, and I was so proud, because it's like we all started together. And although I didn't really want CocoaBella to be in the limelight, I kind of got it through that kind of exposure as well. You know, we got featured in British Vogue, Glamour magazine, Elle. I did a few runways at London Fashion Week, and also exhibited the clothing in Clothes Show Live in Birmingham twice. Fantastic, proud moment, because you're witnessing people love something you've created and empower them.
Where did you get all that creativity from? I mean, you know, is this something that you grew up with in your family, or where? Because you've just got such strong visions. We'll talk about, you know, the next stage of your career.
I'm very creative, and I think again, as I said, it might be because I think differently. A lot of people who suffer with dyslexia are very entrepreneurial, very creative, because that's the one thing that we can do very easily and organically and not be challenged at, you know. And also, I come from a family whereby you can't wait for someone to do things for you. You have to be proactive. You have to be not reactive. You have to do, regardless if they're going to give you money or not, because you don't want them to say, oh, so what have you done with my money? You know, so I've always wanted to not rest on my laurels or my family name. I wanted to do things for myself so that I'm proud of what I've accomplished. And I love making things, you know, it's a child in me. Like, I just love to produce things. I love it.
Fantastic. So you did really well at Standard Chartered Bank over the years, and you had a number of opportunities. You went to New York.
Yeah, great opportunity.
Absolutely. And for most, you know, most girls, for any background, that was just a fabulous opportunity for you. But you also set up something, and you got the Chairman's Award.
I know, wasn't that crazy?
So tell us a bit about what that was.
Yeah.
Why did you set it up? How was it set up? What has it achieved?
Right.
And then we'll talk about the future.
Okay, so in 2013, like you rightly said, I got an opportunity. I got a role in the States, in New York, and it was fantastic. I feel that's my second home. I just feel so comfortable there. But in as much as I felt comfortable there, it isn't home. You know, in the sense that the community is not a community that I'm familiar with, or I feel I can really give back to, because it's not really mine, and I feel like charity begins at home. So I felt very passionate that I still have a lot I need to do in London. You know, I'm a Londoner born and proud, and I need to do more to help other people get the same opportunities that I've been blessed with. So I came up with an idea to empower gifted and talented young women from socially disadvantaged backgrounds. So it was called Pink Dynasty. It is called Pink Dynasty, and I kid you not, I didn't see it getting to this point right now. I didn't think I was going to win the Chairman's Award. When I was nominated, it's like, oh, I really didn't want the attention, because it's like, I'm not doing it for the attention, you know? But I realised it brought visibility to the programme. So it's a social mobility programme to uplift talented young women living in, let's say, less privileged backgrounds, who don't have the contacts to get that internship, to get that work experience. So what I try to do is connect them with passionate volunteers who will help guide them and nourish their talent, and then give them financial literacy courses, because there's no point in having a good job and you don't know how to manage money. So we try to educate them and also encourage them to give back. So our ethos is to lift as you climb. So it doesn't matter where you are in the stage of your career, there is always someone you can help. And, you know, you help me, I'm helping other people. And I think if we continue to do that, to give back, the world will be a much better place.
Thank you. Okay, so what's the future for you now? You're studying.
Yeah.
And what's the future now for, you know, all the organisations you're setting up, and how you're growing them and what they're morphing into now?
What I've realised is, as I've grown up, is never be so rigid with your plans. Be very fluid and be open to it. And I'm feeling now that the more positivity you put out in the world, the more you get in return. And I'm a strong believer that whatever God has predestined for you is going to happen. Sometimes we go around in circles, but it's going to happen. So given that new enlightenment, I know that right now I'm studying. I'm pursuing an MBA in a fabulous institution. I love it. I'm meeting like-minded people. And in terms of growing Pink Dynasty, I'm happy with the sponsorship we have from Standard Chartered, Experian, Investec, on and on. The list goes on. So I'm positive that those relationships will continue to deepen and will attract other socially responsible companies. Now, I'm not going to stop just with Pink Dynasty. I have a desire to help as many people as I can, and I know that I can't do it alone. So the idea is to build a team around myself who are just as passionate as I am about giving back to society and helping the vulnerable and the marginalised. I also want to take some time to kind of build on my own life. You know, I think I've been working and always dealing with projects ever since you've known me, like 10 years. And I think it's time to, you know, sit back a little bit and enjoy what I've done, and to go with the flow.
There's a quote that I came across. It was from the founder of someone to call Workplace Trends, and they said millennials want to help others succeed, and you seem to be very representative of that. and that it says helping millennials want to help others succeed, which contradicts the stereotype that millennials are narcissistic. What do you think about that? And what's, first of all, and then secondly, what's a quote that really inspires you? You might have already said it, but what do you think about that quote, about people's view of millennials? I
think the first part of the quote is absolutely correct. I think you'll find that the world in which we're living in right now is totally different to the world you lived in, my parents lived in. Things are hard. Incredibly hard and incredibly expensive, and I love the fact that millennials and people in my age group, we have this desire to help each other and support one another, because we know how difficult things are. I don't think that we're narcissistic at all. I think it can be misconstrued that way, because there's so much right now with social media, and people are like selfie addicted. I must admit I am too sometimes, but I think we are not as shallow as people think we are. We're not that superficial. You'll find that we are the ones that love to volunteer, and a lot of the time people moving into the third sector, you know, they graduate from great universities, acquire a lot of debt, but they want to give back. How many people you know that want to do that? You know, so I'm proud of millennials, and I think that we are the beacon and light of tomorrow. So I think give us a chance, you'll see a lot of changes. In terms of what's my quote, I always say this to the members of Pink Dynasty, that try to live each and every single day as if it's your last opportunity to make a serious impact in the world. And when I mean impact, I mean a positive one, because you can make a negative one, but a positive one. What do you want your legacy to be if you're gone tomorrow? So do everything you can to ensure that if, God forbid, you were to go earlier than expected, you've left a great legacy behind. So that's my quote.
Fantastic. Adeola, I wish you all the very best with
you.
all your future initiatives.
Thank you.
You know, you're only 30 now. Goodness knows what's going to happen in the next 10 years. I hope I'm around to.
Absolutely, you will be.
To actually see what you've done. So thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.